Here we have a beautiful Fender Highway 1 precision bass. Just getting it ready for setup, I realized this has some backbow on the neck. So I wanted to just illustrate that if possible. Several ways to sight down a neck. I like to look at it from several different angles. I'll flip the bass like this, then I'll flip it and look from this side as well. All just looking from different angles. The other thing you can do is fret on the first fret, 17th, and then reach to the 8th. It's a big hand stretch. It's easier on a guitar. What you should see is a little bit of daylight at that 8th fret and be able to tap on the string. And this is just lying on the 8th fret, meaning there's absolutely no relief in this neck to the point it's backbowing. Really easy to fix though. You get a truss rod wrench. Give it, I think I just gave it about 3/4 of a turn. Now I'll check that same thing. You hear that? That's the string at the 8th fret. Now we've got some actual relief in the neck, and actually 3/4 of the turn was probably too much. Tighten about a 1/4 turn. This is all doing it by eyeballing. I'll measure in a second with a feeler gauge. That gets me in the ballpark. Put a capo on the first fret. Maybe start somewhere around 0.010 of an inch. Do the same thing, which is fret on the 17th. This is the way I do it anyway. And then use the feeler gauge at the 8th fret. This is not quite 007 here. So we've got a real flat. I give it a little more relief, so that means I'm just going to loosen it just a tidge. Now that 007 is making it just under the string there. Now we'll check action and go on with the setup from there. Looking pretty good. Play down low on the neck, see how it sounds, see if it's buzzing at all. Then start checking other places around the neck. If you've got buzzing down here on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fret, that means you're probably going to want to put a little more relief in the neck. I'm not hearing any buzzing, so I'm good there. If you're hearing buzzing up high on the neck, you may want to tighten that truss rod. A little less relief. This is sounding good all over, and it's got a decent action on it right now, so we're already in the ballpark on this thing. I'll just individually lower or raise a couple of the strings so I've got a nice little arc to the strings, and then start looking at intonation. Getting further into the setup on this one, usually after you've set your truss rod, you're looking for where there might be buzz on the neck. I've got a little along the D string around 4th, 5th, 6th fret, but I'm also a little plunky up on the high frets. You know, you're kind of digging in with your fingers, and it's probably be good to try tightening your truss rod. It'll bring the strings closer to the fretboard, so you'll need to then raise the action. But that usually gets rid of some of that on the high frets. The only complication here is I'm hearing a little bit down low too. So I'm interested to see if I tighten the truss rod, what's going to happen. Let's see what happens if I tighten this truss rod, say a little 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn. I'm going to find my action has come down. I'm at 0.060, which is pretty low for a bass. So I'm going to bring it back up to where I like it to end up, which is about 0.070 if I can possibly manage it. And these numbers I'm calling out are just on a string action gauge. I'm using like the decimal version and that's just what I've gotten used to using. So now I've got it backed up here to 070. That D string sounded much better. Now let's see up high. Yeah, it's gotten rid of that plonkiness. I can dig in pretty well. I'm not hearing a thwack sound. Eventually you want to have checked every single fret on the guitar. The only problem I'm hearing now is down real low around the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fret, and definitely on the G string. I can get away with raising the action a little bit here because it's still pretty low. This is kind of the back and forth game you got to play when you're trying to get a bass or guitar to play well all over the neck. And unfortunately, sometimes you can't get rid of little problem areas everywhere. If a neck has a little bit of ripple in it or a little bit of twist in it, all kinds of things. You know, this is a 21-year-old instrument, I think. So necks don't stay perfectly flat and straight all the time, and that can make your setups more challenging. So that says to me I've either got to go with a little higher action or maybe slightly loosen that truss rod. Whereas I just did a quarter turn, let's say, I just do a little tiny turn. Keep tuning up when you're doing these adjustments because that puts more or less strain on the neck. So you need the exact conditions to know exactly how much buzz you're actually getting. So now I've gotten rid of the buzz down the low frets. Now how are we up here? Still doing okay. So we may have found that golden spot where I'm not getting buzz down low and I'm not getting much buzz up high, and I'm still at a good action. And it's all that back and forth interplay between height of action, how much buzz you can live with. Keep in mind I'm doing this without this plugged in. You hear buzz a lot more playing like this once you plug in. That kind of like smooths things over when things are amplified. So I prefer to do my setups unplugged, so to speak. I'm just hypercritical about it. I feel I can hear things better when it's unplugged. We're playing well all over the neck at this point.